Alright, what's up everyone? I'm Alpha Yang Delete, and this is a sponsored video where I'll be showing you a playthrough of how I saved a species facing extinction with the new Synthetic Fertility origin in the upcoming DLC for Stellaris, the Machine Age. And so let's begin by taking a look at the origin. Alright, so for the Synthetic Fertility origin, this blocks all ascension paths except for the Synthetic Ascension. You'll be starting with 9 additional pops, your species will have a special trait, your homeworld is going to have tile blockers and some new buildings, and you'll be starting the game with a situation. You'll have additional starting technologies, and you'll be guaranteed a research option. Now your species are going to have the pathogenic genes trait. This means that your pop's declining speed will be increased by 100%. Your species cannot colonize other planets or be resettled, and they cannot reproduce naturally. Next up, we have the Identity Repository building, and for this building, pretty much every time one of your species dies, they're going to be housed inside of this building. It's going to increase your technology and unity, but it's going to also increase energy credit upkeep. Now, we're going to begin our game with a new pre-made empire, the Lacerton Techno Protectorate. And so with the Lacertons, they pretty much made an early attempt at artificial consciousness that led to a digital society, blurring reality and virtuality. But then there was a disease that made my species infertile, and everyone began to panic. Now we've expanded the digital storage to preserve identities, but now we must focus on creating synthetic bodies and brains so that we can stay in the physical world. Alright, so when your game begins, you're going to be starting with some technology that you don't usually start with. But first things first, we're going to look at the synthetic fertility situation. And pretty much it's just saying that with no medical cure, your survival hinges on digitizing your population in the Identity Repository building. While this is temporary, you're going to be working on synthetic bodies and a complex positronic brain. Now, I believe we can finish this in time, but my scientists are going to have to use AI-created blueprints for robotic bodies, which will be our first step towards synthetic salvation. And this is letting me know that the research option for artificial workforce has been gained, and that I already have 25% tech progress towards it. And so next up, we're going to look at our engineering technology, and right away you can see that we have artificial workforce as an option to research. This is going to be good because with this technology, our robot pops will be able to fill in worker jobs. Since our main species will be dying off, that's going to be the first job category that we're going to start losing workers from. Alright, so up next, I'm going to go to the situation log, and we're going to look at rapid identity preservation. This is going to pretty much explain some of the things that we've already been looking at, but there are 3 different ways to approach this situation. You have economy first, extra funding, and research focus. Now for economy first, if you choose this option, it's going to increase your monthly unity by 5%, your research speed and engineering is going to be increased, however your monthly energy credits will be increased as well. If you choose extra funding, your research speed for engineering is going to get a nice little boost, but once again, those monthly energy credits are going to get increased as well. And then if you choose research focused, you're going to get a nice engineering research speed boost, but it's going to cost you 40% of your monthly energy credits. I'm going to stick to economy first so I can feel out my empire, and if I feel like I could add more later on, then I definitely will. Alright, so next up, I'm just going to show off the Identity Repository building in the beginning of the game, just so that you can get an idea of how much technology we're producing, how much unity we're producing, and how much the upkeep and energy credits are going to cost us per month to maintain this build. So now I'm going to go ahead and start sending my science ship out to survey and explore other systems. Hopefully we can find some habitable world, but do keep in mind that since my species has the pathogenic genes trait, they will not be able to colonize any worlds until we finish the synthetic fertilization situation. And so for our first tradition, I'm going to go for discovery because it has a couple of traditions inside of the tree that I would like to unlock, but when we finish this tree, it increases our research speed by 10%. I'm going to select my second scientist here, and we're going to recruit a scientist that has a expertise in engineering. And so Cabroxy here is going to be the perfect choice. They increase engineering research from jobs by 10%, if they are a planet governor. And so back on my homeworld, I've already started building industrial districts. This scientist would be a perfect governor for this planet. And not only that, we're gonna go to our technology tab here, and now you can see that my engineering progress is now increased by 22%. So I'm trying to get as much bang for my buck with my leaders as I can in that category. Now we do have a first contact situation brewing up. My pops are still declining. I'm losing pops every 10 months, and so the sooner we can make this first contact with another empire, the sooner I can get closer to building a migration treaty with them. Alright, so we just launched the Infinite Opportunities agenda, and I'm looking for our next council agenda to pretty much set in motion. And so I see we have an empty council seat. We're going to go ahead and expand the council size, and after that I'm going to go to my policies, and I'm going to look at my economic policies we're going to be changing this to civilian economy so that we can get more consumer goods from jobs. Now, after that, boom, we just finished robot worker technology, and now I'm able to build robots to fill in my working jobs. That's going to lead us into our next event chain for the synthetic fertility. And it's good news. We've finished the robotic body research. We've revamped the abandoned gene clinic into a robot assembly plant, and we've sent out improved robots. And so while they can't think for themselves just yet, they're perfect for smaller tasks. And here's the better part about this situation. We now get one robot assembly plant on our planet, we get 3 additional robots, and we get artificial specialist technology. And so if we go down to our engineering technology tab here, you can see now we can begin researching the artificial specialist category. And if we go to our home world, I did not build this building. After I finished reading that situation, a robot assembly plant has appeared on the planet. On top of that, we now have robots and Lacerton species. And so this is going to be great to help us start to fill in those worker jobs as our Lacertons continue to die off. Next up for discovery, we have the database uplinks, and this is a pretty good tradition because it unlocks the research subsidies edict, and it increases our research output by 10% at the cost of 1 extra energy credit upkeep per researcher. So it seems like a pretty good trade-off, but we are going all out on researcher output, so this is beneficial for my empire. And so after that, I have found some pre-FTLs, and I just thought, hey, why not just invade their planet and then use those species as workers? But my pre-FTL interference policy will not allow it due to some of my ethics, and so that's one reason I can't really invade the pre-FTLs right now. But we're gonna go ahead and finish our discovery tradition tree, and the faith and science tradition in the discovery tree decreases researcher upkeep by 20%. For my first ascension perk, I'm going to select technological ascendancy. That's going to increase my research speed by another 10%, and there it is. We've completed the artificial specialist technology. And so as my Lacerton species continues to die off, now I'll be able to usher in droid workers to not only fill in the worker jobs, but the specialist jobs as well. And as you can see here, my current population is still dropping due to our declining species. And so with Droid Mastery, we continue the event chain of synthetic fertility, and this is a big improvement for our robot technology that lets us colonize other planets and do more complicated tasks with our robot workforce. Our AI systems think the next step is to put their brains into artificial bodies, which could bring the digital minds back to the real world. And so now we're to go back to the engineering technology category, and here we have artificial administration. This allows us to now build synthetic workers that can fill in the ruler jobs on our planets. Now we're to go back and look at the identity repository building, and here you can see that we are housing more identities, but we're also producing more technology, more unity, and the energy credit upkeep has been increased. So next up, we're going to expand the council, and I'm going to make a new council position, the Senior Science Director, which is going to decrease our researchers' upkeep. Then I'm going to recruit a scientist that has a specialty in any sort of engineering technology, just so that we can level this scientist up. And so here you can see that our engineering tech progress is at 61%, and for our next agenda, we are going to select progressive growth that increases your mechanical pop assembly speed by 10% while this agenda is initialized, and then once it's launched, it'll increase by another 2%. Now we're selecting the prosperity tradition tree next. Since our main species are dying out faster, then we can build machines, and this is going to increase my mining station output by 20%. Now don't forget, we started this game with over 30 pops, and now we're currently sitting at 22, and so it's going to be important that we build some more robots here until we can figure out this fertility situation. I have now made first contact with another empire, and right away I'm going to establish an embassy with them so that we can increase opinions. Hopefully we can increase some trust as well by forming a commercial pact. And then after that, I'm going to offer them a migration treaty so that we can start getting some of their pops on my planets. And speaking of, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to my population tab here, and you can see that I now have the avian species growing on my world, as well as building robots at the same time. Now speaking of jobs, we're to go ahead and launch the progressive growth agenda so that we can increase our mechanical pop assembly speed, and then after that, we're to go over and launch the favored society agenda to increase our specialist pop resource income. Alright, so next up, we're gonna go back to the traditions, and I'm selecting the next prosperity tradition, interstellar franchising, to decrease the upkeep from our jobs. And after that, I'm going to give my scientists the statistician trait so that as they're on the council, they'll be able to increase that research speed by another 5%. Once again, we're not taking our foot off the gas when it comes to research speed. And here we have our second first contact situation, this time with a hive mind. Now, this empire had me a little worried here because they closed their borders to me. And so what I did was I started improving relations with them. I used all of my envoys, and I was doing everything that I could to avoid a hostile outcome. Now, we're gonna get past that. Next up, I finished the research, artificial administration, and this is going to increase my robot output by 10%, and it's going to unlock synthetic workers that can now start to fill in those ruler class jobs on my planets. And so after a lot of hard work, we finally did it. We've created a brain that can hold our identities. Even though we can't live forever, soon we won't be stuck in our bodies anymore. And so what we need to do next is embrace the synthetic tradition. Now, this tradition comes with a lot of effects, but the main thing that we want from this is that it starts a situation to transform our founding species into a mechanical species. And so we select synthetics, and then the digital dream happens. Our factories and experts are prepared to start transferring identities into robotic brains and bodies. We'll begin by focusing on people still alive, aiming to get rid of this genetic disease forever. And so the way that I went about this is I went to the situation log, I clicked on synthesization, and I had two ways to approach this. The careful approach, or we could go full speed. I wanted to get this situation done as quickly as possible, and so I'm going to go full speed. It's going to cost me a lot of engineering and monthly alloys, but in due time, we have virtual salvation. And so I'm going to leave this choice up to you to make in your playthroughs. While I've moved everyone's minds into a new robotic body or the digital storage place to keep them safe, now there's a problem. The digital world we made was supposed to be temporary, but people like it and they don't want to leave. We could let them stay there, or we could make them move into the new robotic bodies. The choice is up to you. Guys, I'm Delete, and this is the way that I played the Synthetic Fertility Origin. Hopefully you enjoyed, and the Stellaris Machine Age DLC releases May 7th. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until then, Alpha out.